Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dojo Talks. Today, we are ranking chess countries. That's right. We have somehow come across this topic recently off of a suggestion. We all got very excited about it, and we figured we had to do it. We had to rank the greatest chess countries of all time historically. How are you guys feeling about this one?
Let's go.
So nervous.
Now, I personally think this is just a great topic because it encourages a lot of healthy discussion, and we'll talk about some of our metrics and stuff. Justin, you thought right now actually is a particularly interesting time to discuss it,
Right.
because you said that there are no Russians in the top 10. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's why I thought we were doing this thing. The moment in time, it got to be reflected on. Yeah.
But is that totally true? Is Nepo, he's not in the...
Yeah, totally true.
Just out. Oh, wow. Okay, that actually is interesting. Wouldn't even know when the last time that would be the case. Actually, that's kind of wild.
Maybe 1915 or something like that. I don't even know. It's going to be a long time ago.
It was at least 1915, if not.
Because you got to think Chigorin's in the top 10 at that point, too. Maybe. I don't know. They didn't have ratings back then, so it's a little bit hard to say.
He might have still been around. Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it. One thing we agreed amongst ourselves that made sense is that we're not going to count the USSR as an entity for the purposes of this discussion, because I feel like, well, that would just erase a lot of players. That just includes so much of chess history if you count them as one. And for instance, like the achievements of Tigran Petrosian, I feel like should count for Armenia rather than the USSR, even though actually, technically he was born in Georgia, according to ChatGPT, but he represented the USSR. But I feel like the country of Armenia very much owns his achievements, as an example.
Yeah. Surely we're going to place some players' accomplishments with a country and then have arguments in chat about what country that player belonged to, right? Mm-hmm. And Petrosian might be the first one we mentioned that gets argued about. Maybe some Georgians will claim him in chat, some Armenians will claim him, etc.
Yeah.
Someone else.
Let's just say there's going to be bias on this show, but I was thinking about it recently, and I realized everyone has bias. All the smartest people in the world have some kind of bias. Everyone has experiences that lead to their own bias. And the point is, when you bring a lot of people together, then their biases kind of cancel each other out, and the wisdom of the crowds usually works out. And that's why the comments on YouTube are so wholesome and important. Okay.
And why YouTube will get it more right than we do.
Well, we'll see. Shall we get into it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I guess. We got the layout up already. I don't know who's first in the draft.
I guess I go first, right? The snakes around.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, a couple of things I just want to say. If you're just listening to this, we have our top 10. We'll each do our top 10, and then we are going to average it out at the end. The other thing I want to say before we start that I think is interesting about this moment in time is not only has Russia fallen out of the top 10, which is just remarkable for me in my lifetime. It was always more than 50% of the players in there were Russian. But also, I feel what's interesting is there, in not so long ago, we could talk about national identities in playing styles, and it didn't seem so ridiculous. You could talk about a Latvian school, right, with Tall and Shabalov and Shirov and these guys, right? And you could say, oh, they kind of are playing in a similar style. And you could say, oh, the Armenian school is all with Petrosian and all this. And we'll get into those schools. But the thing I want to say that's interesting about this moment is that I feel with the way chess is being played online instead of being taught and learned IRL, is that those national identities are largely disappearing. So when we talk about chess countries, there's a difference between now and 10, 20 years ago, where I feel like those identities, I thought I saw them in the players that I was playing against and the players whose games I was watching. Whereas now,
you're totally right.
It's
You're
changing.
Totally right, Jesse.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go first. And this first nation is interesting in terms of this discussion. And that is, I'm putting China at number 10. They could be potentially higher. One curious issue with China is the Chinese themselves aren't that interested in chess. They are Go obsessed. And so I think a lot of the part of the problems that the Chinese players have is they're not really seen as the heroes of, say, like as the Go players are. But they have produced technically one champion with Ding. Some put a asterisk next to him, but they have produced Ding. And they were for many years and still are a force in the Olympiad. They've fallen off in terms of where they once were. And they've definitely, but they had a brief moment in the sun, I would say. Even like 10 years ago, it seemed like, oh, China's going to be the number one chess superpower. And it didn't quite materialize. But they had that moment and they had Ding. So I have China at number 10.
Okay. Wow. Already with the big guns.
Yeah.
There was actually, talking about schools, there was a book published, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it was about China trying to identify China's having a particular style involving
The
calculation.
Chinese School of Chess.
The Chinese School of Chess, exactly.
I have it.
So that was an attempt to kind of try to, characterize what the Chinese players are about. That book didn't resonate with me, but just as an example of what we're talking about here in terms of identities.
It was written by one of their national team's trainers at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, I'm very nervous about this. As Jesse and Kostya know, like I'm worried that, we'll somehow be accused of hating an entire country now instead of just a player. This is like the toughest ranking show for me yet. But I'll lay out on this first pick what I was thinking in terms of what the idea is here and what we're ranking. I think we're kind of ranking like what a country has contributed to the chess world. So not just like how strong are players from that country, but what's kind of the overall contribution, right? So it's a mix of, great players who brought us new ideas, great chess writers who brought us new ideas, new training methods, and also me personally, I'm counting off the board innovations that contribute to the chess world, right? So like, for example, developing programming Alpha Zero or something like that, right? That would be something that a country has contributed to the chess world. Or coming up with the idea of having a cafe where people sit around playing chess in a cafe, right? Like, that could be some small contribution to the chess world, or inventing a chess clock. I don't know who invented the chess clock, but I just give these as examples. Do either of you know who invented the chess clock?
I can ask.
Seems like something Jesse would know. No, I'm just curious. Okay, so that's kind of like what I'm doing. I'm sort of trying to like roughly aggregate what has been contributed to the whole chess world and chess community by a particular nation.
England. England invented the chess clock by Thomas Bright Wilson of Manchester.
All right. And
1883.
Then I guess I have to move England up in the rankings a little. I mean, a clock's when you think about it, a clock is pretty important.
Yeah.
And obviously people are that means that I'm already comparing apples and oranges, right? So like, how do I compare a country that produced a world champion with a country that produced a chess clock, right? It's like, it's immediately a little bit subjective to rank those kind of different elements, but I still wanted to include those different things. For me, that just made sense. So that's what I've done. And so I'm kicking off with a country that produced a world champion. But I don't know if this is, this might be unfortunately the first insult I level at a country. But I feel like for a country that produced a world champion, they didn't add too much else to the chess world. And it may be because their world champion is super recent, so they haven't had much time for like the boom to hit, right? But as I understand it, they put chess on national TV in Norway, right? And lots of people around Norway know about chess and have some interest in it. But somehow I feel like there hasn't been like an aftershock from Magnus yet, right? Their Olympiad team hasn't really gone anywhere. We don't see like an explosion of young talents. And we don't see tons and tons of innovations in the chess, internet streaming, whatever ecosystem right now coming from Norway. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I know that they're amazing enough that David Howell chose to repatriate. So there's some chess stuff going on there, but I feel like compared to some other countries, I'm going to have more accomplishments or more contributions to list for other countries later on. So Norway, number 10.
Wow, Norway. Okay, spicy, spicy. Um, okay, so I'll give you guys my criteria. I believe I had 5 criteria for this, and similar to David, I was just trying to figure out which countries have had not just the most contribution to chess, but also I put a lot of precedence on results and achievements. So my criteria were world champions, number of elite players or top 10 players, Olympiad score, so like medals in the Olympiad, basically.
Yeah.
Then my 4th metric was women's chess, how they do in women's chess. And so I just basically gave every country a score. And that measured basically the first 3 metrics, but for women. So world champions, top 10 players, and then Olympiad.
Hang
And
on.
then
It
my
sounds
5th,
like Kostya, you have a whole spreadsheet behind
I've got a lovely
behind
chat going
the
with
spreadsheet.
ChatGPT, where I just had it. I basically just analyzed it with ChatGPT. I said, here are my metrics. Do some research. I had to do a full deep research so that it could
Yeah.
like figure out who was from there. It made some mistakes, obviously, but I corrected it. Like
Correct.
it gave Japan credit for Hikaru Nakamura, which I thought was wrong.
Yeah. It was
Other
trying.
things like that. Yeah, so I had to fix it, but ultimately I had because I there's all these different metrics, and I needed like a calculator to help me kind of
Right.
balance it out. And then the 5th metric, okay, is more subjective. I didn't ask ChatGPT to rank this one, but it's like history and culture and contribution to the game and all the stuff David was talking about, which I think is also super important. And so yeah, okay, super difficult list to make, and this is really it could just be said how I feel today. I think you can move these around like really really easily, but for my number 10, I think I will go. Oh boy, this is really tough for me. I think I will go with China as well.
Wow.
Now,
First,
China
it sounded like he
originally.
had it all worked out, and then he's like hesitating too.
Well, actually, I was moved by what Jesse said because China doesn't really have a lot of chess history.
Mm-hmm.
And then the country that I was going to put in number 10 does, but I think I'm going to give them the boost to number 9. I originally gave China a big plus because as far as the women's side goes, China has been just completely dominating. Like I would say they have the best score for women's chess, along with maybe Russia. But yeah, they don't quite have like the history there. And the legacy. Of course, they got a world champion. They've got 2 Olympiad wins, I think. So in the modern era, they're doing great, very much like India. But yeah, they quite just don't have the legacy as some of these other countries. Oh, I guess it's a snake draft, so I'll do my number 9 as well. So you guys will see who I was struggling to compare with China, and that is going to be England. So I got England in number 9. They have no world champions. They have a challenger. They have Nigel Short. They have number of top players: Mickey Adams, John Nunn. They got the history as well, like Howard Staunton and other players. They invented the chess clock. I think that just edges them.
Chess clock. It was just a throwaway.
But there's all this history of chess in England that goes back centuries and centuries, which I think has to be accounted for.
Yeah, like we play with their chess pieces now.
I guess so. Yeah. Staunton.
Okay. Cool. Well, Jesse, I'm really curious about Kostya's list now that I know it's like the AI enhanced, like super researched list, right? It's like a dual intelligence list.
You could say it's the correct list. You could say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least a very interesting one. We'll stick with it. All right. At number 9, I have. Let me find where I can type this in. All right. I have the Netherlands.
Okay.
Um, and Kostya, you mentioned biases at the top of the show, which I think is a great thing to talk about, although it's now illegal to use that word in a lot of government documents in the US, or medical research papers can no longer use that word. But yeah, I think it's an important thing. And I made my list and I looked at it and I thought, wow, there's like a European bias in this list. And then I tried to like think it through some more, right? And I couldn't see my way to changing it. You see what I mean? Like I'm like, this looks like a biased European list, and I'm like, well, what should I fix? What am I forgetting? And like I couldn't figure it out, you know? So I think that one of the important things with biases is just to sort of like talk about them, right? It's like you can't necessarily eliminate it, so at least like say what it is.
At least acknowledge it. Yeah.
Right. So I'll say what it is. I think that there's a European bias in my list. Um, and we'll see how you guys feel about my picks, if you can help me correct it. But I put the Netherlands here. They have one world champion, Max Euwe. Also, they have the greatest president that FIDE has ever had, unquestionably. Also Max Euwe. So still one person so far. But I feel like the Netherlands has a really cool chess culture. With like new in chess and like some of the like, early modern chess publishing. It feels to me like it was important and overall like a good chess culture. So they kind of got this spot for me here.
That makes sense. And also, wasn't there another FIDE president, Bessel?
I don't think Bessel Koch was president.
He was Bessel Koch was the head of the PCA, or the funder of the Players Chess
funder for a lot of things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They've definitely had some chess patrons, like some people who some wealthy people who put money into chess, like Koch and Van Oosterom. But yeah.
Okay.
When I was a kid, like the chess journalist was Dirk Jan ten Goizendam. He was like, I don't know. I don't know if there were chess journalists before him. There probably were, but for me, he was like the first chess journalist.
Hey, he's still around. I talked to him recently on the New in Chess podcast, which was fun. So he's still doing great stuff, actually.
Yeah. So there you go. He pushes the Netherlands.
I guess I should say about my own, how I constructed the list. To me, it's a big deal. If there was a world champion from the country, I generally, especially when I think about how we used to think about country identities and how people played, there was, in most countries, there is an emulation of a world champion if a player makes it. And then the players all the way down the line kind of start copying that player, and then a national identity and chess fervor is built around that player. So my list is different than David and Kostya's, and then I'm very world champion centric. And for my picks from, I would say, not 7 through 9, they could be interchangeable. These are all smaller countries that have had a great chess tradition and have had a world champion. And I think you could put them higher if you wanted to. You start analyzing GDP, or like how many players per capita. If you put them how many players per capita, I'll start with number 9, and that's Latvia. You could put this country higher. Latvia is a great example of a chess tradition of active pieces and aggressive play, really based with Tall. And then, as I said, we have Shirov, Shabalov, and others. Igor Rousey's. Anyway, the whole tradition of players came out of their really beautiful tradition. And again, it could be higher.
I learned that Nimzovich was born in Latvia.
There you go. That's right.
Yeah. So he's cool.
Yeah.
And then number 8, I think Nimzovich is a hard example because then he ends up spending most of his life, I think, in Denmark,
Correct.
cruising around the tournament scene.
Right.
Number 8, we have Cuba. And of course, Capablanca is from Cuba. And Cuba has a great chess tradition. I feel like I've had access to it in my own life through the players in Miami who moved from Cuba and now live in Miami, like Julio Becerra and others. And they definitely have a style, I guess I would say, kind of. I would say it's a very correct style, very opening centric, but like with a nice underpinning of aggression. And I think because of Capablanca, they like to think of themselves as intuitive players. So anyways, number 8, Cuba.
Quick time out here. Did you know that the dojo is an incredible site with tactics, a database, a community of people trying to improve, a training program? All of this is going on at our site. So go check it out. ChessDojo.club. Hit the link in the description.
All right. I have in 8th place England, world champion lists, yet placed by me above Norway and the Netherlands. For me, okay, so they have some players who were, maybe about like the second best player in the world at some periods in time, right? Over a stretch of years, from McDonald to Staunton to Nigel Short. But another thing is, in my mind, the McDonald Bourdonnais matches like just have a really important place, establishing a certain kind of chess, establishing the idea of world championships, and also the culture around like the chess and the coffee shops, and like going back and forth between Paris and London. Then eventually, it was going to be Vienna was going to be like the place where you'd find the chess masters in the coffee shops, a couple decades later. So that has a whole weight with me. But then finally, I was really thinking about Alpha Zero as being an important contribution to chess, and sort of I looked it up, and it seemed like it was developed largely in England. And Matthew Sadler has had an important role as well in sort of interpreting computer chess to the rest of us. Bringing the chess from the computers to the humans. Kind of like, the role of Moses with the tablet. So I ranked England. They got pushed up a little bit here by that interesting contribution, which I think is doing a lot for the chess world now.
Nice. I don't know if you mentioned it, but Stockfish, I think, is a Norwegian
That's
program.
true. I did not mention that.
So they get some points or negative points. I don't know how you.
No. That's points for sure. That's points for sure. I love Stockfish.
Technically, yeah. I mean, Norway has the best player and computer of all time.
The best human and silicon. But if Alpha Zero were in competitions, it would be the best, right?
No, I don't think so.
For continuing to be used, no.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the older Alpha Zero isn't as strong as like the modern Stockfish.
It's the modern Stockfish.
But if they continue to update, improving it, then who knows?
Unknown, I guess.
Because it was only trained for like 4 hours. So if it was trained for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Also, that older Stockfish wasn't using a neural net.
Right. So the new Stockfish that's now the best has been updated using ideas from Alpha Zero.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
By the way, this computer talk these boys are talking about it, no leverage with me at all. I don't care. Okay. That's not going to move the needle at all for me, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, it didn't really affect my list because I won't have Norway. Norway's not on my top 10, and for England, okay, I didn't count Alpha Zero. But all right, so number 8 for me, another kind of a tough one, I think, but I'm gonna go with um arguably this country should be higher. It's okay, it's tough to make this list. But I will go with Armenia, which is a small country and actually maybe deserves points because given how small they are, they have massive amounts of chess achievement. But obviously they have the world champion Tigran Petrosian. They have Levon Aronian, who I think is one of the top maybe 3 players like non-world champions in the modern era since Kasparov. They've had other top players as well. I think Vaganian was a top player, and then of course they have like the huge Olympiad successes. And in general, they have always had a very rich chess culture. I believe in Armenia at one point, maybe this is still the case, but they were teaching chess in the schools to every child, which is pretty unique and hardcore. And yeah, maybe they could be higher. I'm not sure, but I've got them. I've got them at number 8 right now.
Mm-hmm. And that your algorithm counted up their Olympiad wins and stuff like that.
I mean, it gives them a high score, yeah, for the Olympiad wins for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely. But there's other stuff, I would say actually their history isn't like the deepest in terms of like the number of top players they've had. I would say it's more of like a handful. Again, impressive, small country. But I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like other countries get more points on others. This is tough. Okay, I'm just gonna go on to number 7, which for me is gonna be. Let me check here. Okay, which is gonna be Germany. So Germany, I believe, has one world champion, Lasker, but many strong players. Tarash was German, and then of course they have a number of strong GMs in the modern era. Not that many top 10 players from what I can recall, and not the best Olympiad performances either, but a lot of history. And the reason I gave Germany a lot of props because they just have like a huge chess culture, and there's still a ton of players in Germany. They've got like the biggest chess league and like the Bundesliga, like everyone, like all the top players play the Bundesliga, which I think is pretty cool. And then they have this like massive like chess club culture as well that goes back like years and years and years. And yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting stuff, but yeah, they landed at number 7 for me.
I think it's a very good point. Maybe none of them are good, but lots of them play chess.
Well, it's a lot. It's a fantastic chess culture. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And of course they've had a number of very strong players, just maybe not at the absolute elite level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had Hubner.
Yes.
My number 7 is Armenia.
Okay. All right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think something super impressive with Armenia is like how they would win those Olympiads. Like just if you just watch the Olympiads, which are an important event to me and maybe not to others, then you get my perhaps inflated sense of Armenia partly, right? Which is like seeing these players like come together as a team, outperform their ratings, and then see them go home to these heroes welcomes and like the whole country going like crazy. I mean, it really seized and gripped me watching some of these runs that Armenia had in the Olympiad. And then the other thing I give them points for is sort of chess culture, like Armenians going out to other countries and spreading the love of chess where they go. And of course, where Kostya grew up, there were a lot of Armenian American chess players.
Southern California, yeah.
Yeah. In Southern California, like Glendale area. And, maybe again, this is just the way personal experience biases us, right? But I learned a lot playing against these players who were better than me. So it was really like a great resource and really formative for me to see them and learn from them. Kachin, Matakosian, and others that Kostya's probably also lost to at some point.
Oh yeah.
And I think also just like you feel this like incredible like passion and love for chess from Armenian people. So I think chess loves them back. And that's my rank. I'm sure Jesse has them in the next pick or two here.
Oh, for sure. Oh, Jesse muted?
He's muted, so we'll
I'm
have to
muted.
say
I'm
it
muted.
for
That
him.
was a lawnmower I wanted to disrupt. So yeah, 7 through 9 are interchangeable to a certain extent. I also have Armenia.
Wow, called it.
I think when we're talking about identities, Armenia is a great example of maybe the best example of a world champion setting the tone for how to play chess, a very interesting positional chess where you can talk about the moves feeling deep. And one interesting realization I had, I remember I was playing, I played a lot of those guys in the LA area. And at a certain point, I got it. I was like, oh, he's going to sack the exchange. And I was like, oh, that's because of Petrosian. Oh, because of this school. And that was in like the early 2000s when I had this realization. And it was like, oh, this goes back, 50 years to Zurich 1953 when he sacks the exchange against Reshevsky. What a tradition, Oh my God.
Dude, even Sevian, when he was 9 years old, I was watching him at some tournament, he was 2,100, but he was like, the tiniest kid in the expert section or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, exchange sack. Oh, the first time I saw him play, he was playing an exchange sack.
Yeah.
Okay, but Sevian he was like this hacker attacker. I mean, if he had an idol, it would have been Mikhail Tal for sure. But
Maybe,
but
but
of course,
like
yeah,
as
he
a
has
kid, maybe first he was steeped in a certain culture, and then
it's in his blood.
Well, yeah, no, he was coached by Matikosian, I think, for a long time. Big time Armenian player, trainer in LA.
they've got a
Actually, I
national
consider
opening too, right? The
I would
French
say
defense.
myself as well. I'm also because I was coached by Varakobian for many
Yeah.
years, so I definitely got the Armenian
You're kind of Armenian. And you were playing the
education.
French when I first met you, the national Armenian opening, French defense.
Yeah. No, I'm basically hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, I really value the world champion. So the GOAT comes from Norway, and so Norway gets
Wow.
sixth spot.
Wow, 6.
It's definitely true that, it's a very recent phenomenon in Norway, but it's also true that, like, even though I have problems with Carlsen, it's still despite the fact that David says Philidor was the greatest of all time, the GOAT is still the GOAT. And if your country has the GOAT, then, you gotta place kind of high. I definitely think too, he's inspired a whole generation of players. They got that on the TV. They got this Norway tournament and stuff. So, anyways, there it is, number 6, Norway.
I don't want to get into a long Jesse sidetrack, but you still think Magnus is above Kasparov?
Yeah, dude, it's hard. I get it. His behavior is so bad, but it's also got to be said that Kasparov's behavior was like early 90s when he splits from FIDE is also kind of a problem, dude. It's also kind of a problem. But I get it. I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I snubbed Norway. I didn't. I think they have to do more. To be honest,
pretty clear that they're not on Kostya's list at this point.
Holy moly!
I snubbed. No, I mean, I think maybe in a couple of years or in a couple of decades or something, it could definitely change. Right now, certainly is a lot of interest in chess in Norway. Like the TV thing, I think is very cool. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I feel the history there.
Yeah.
But anyways, David's pick, number 6.
Yeah, well, Jesse's right to bring up the greatest player of all time. Of course, there's no idea who the greatest player of all time is, and he's just hopeless on this topic. So we'll just leave it at that. He's never going to be able to count Tempe in the opening, and he's never going to be able to count how many years Kasparov and Magnus were number 1 in the world. So number 6, France. So I'm giving them credit for, principally Philidor and Le Bourdonnais, who are each the greatest player of their era. Also, as I mentioned before with England, the coffee shop scene, setting that up, which is just a great thing, even now, to go to a coffee shop and play chess with somebody. And I didn't really give them any credit for this, but I have mentioned in quotes here Alyekhin and Firouzja. I guess you could also say Spassky, right? Like they're a place that a few really good players chose to move to. Yeah. I don't know if that makes a place better, but but a
Haven.
destination for top players. Actually, that's going to come up with one of my other picks at some point. So it may matter a little bit, right? But yeah. And when I was in France, I found, a beautiful club culture, beautiful league operating. I know they're not unique in having that, but yeah, it's a nice country for chess.
Yeah, a lot of history. I don't know if you mentioned, I mean, they have their own natural born top player like MVL, Bakro, and
Yeah.
the other guys. Really strong Olympiad team for many years.
Yeah. Not at Armenia's level, but
Well, no,
decent.
at Armenia's level, but just didn't perform. But by rating, totally could have matched them.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, number 6, I think is another is going to be a repeat here, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I'm going to go with the Netherlands. Huge chess history. They got the world champion, the FIDE president from Netherlands. And then yeah, just many, many great players like throughout history. Of course, they have like a number of top 10 players. They have Jan Timman, Anish Giri more recently, and pretty good Olympiad team. Also have this culture, like, for example, like the Van Forest siblings. There's like 3 of them,
Yeah.
2 grandmasters. I believe the sister is a women's GM. And then their like great grandfather was Dutch champion as well. I mean, it's that's wild. So they've got like a very, very rich tradition in Netherlands. Of course, the Wijkanse Super Tournament has been going on for many, many, many years, and yeah, just seems like definitely one of the hot spots of chess. So it's hard to miss it for me. Okay, and then for number 5, oh, it starts to get really tough. Okay, for number 5, I'm gonna put India, which definitely could be higher, and will be if we did this episode. If we did this episode at any point in the future, India could be higher. But I feel like they're still a pretty recent country. I would say they're kind of like China, except they've been more accomplished in the Olympiad. For me, not so much the Olympiad, but in terms of like getting their players to the top 10. Obviously, they got 2 world champions. More coming. But yeah, I guess I feel like for me, just the history isn't quite there, because their first grandmaster, Vishy Anand, got GM in 1987, which is much later than for a lot of these other countries. And so, yeah, I think they're going to quickly catch up. I hope people aren't too upset. You could easily put them higher on this list, but yeah, this is where I have them right now.
Okay. India coming in. My 5th chess nation is Germany. I amused myself by maligning them earlier when Kostya was talking about them, but that was just a joke, a straight-faced joke that I left hanging for 10 minutes.
I don't even remember what you said.
Germany has, I said amazing to have, yeah, none of them might be any good, but to have a lot of chess players is great. Like, it's such an advantage to produce no great players with a huge chess culture. But no, the truth is Germany has great players. And the thing where you go to Russia, to name a random country that may or may not make any of our lists, but let's say you go to Russia and then it turns out your cab driver is better at chess than you. In Germany, like the average level of chess is actually pretty good. When they say the average rating on chess.com is like 650 or something like that, if you go into a chess club in Germany, the average rating is pretty high. Like there's a lot of good players, right? So when we talk about the chess culture, it's like the number of people who are 1800, 1900, 2000 who have chess culture themselves, right? Who know and follow top players, or, have like gone somewhere to play against Bronstein in a simul or something like that, right? Like the culture is just like huge, and the number of players who love and appreciate chess is really high. As Kostya mentioned, they had Emmanuel Lasker, they had Tarash, 2 really formative players for chess's transition into sort of what was the modern era then, but I mean, like, books being published, matches being contested by professionals, that kind of transition. And then, of course, unlike Jesse, I'm going to give them credit for ChessBase and Fritz. And I think that kind of stuff is like a natural outcropping sometimes of having a big chess culture, right? So when I was like questioning what has Norway contributed to chess from their boom, right? And Kostya, you helped me out with Stockfish, right? But like, I feel like when you've got like a huge chess culture, then at some point you're going to have some like, 2,700 rated programmer who's also a chess player in your country, right? And they're going to like do something cool, right? Or you're going to have somebody who's like, oh, what if we like did chess boxing? That was probably a German who invented that, right? Or like chess diving, like let's play chess with a weighted set at the bottom of a swimming pool. You can only think about your moves as long as you can hold your breath. Cool, right? I feel like, when you've got a lot of chess culture, then stuff like that starts coming up in your country, right? And so that's part of why I give countries credit for these kind of other contributions, right? Like a chess clock or whatever it might be, right? Like the English probably came up with the chess clock partly because they were running the most important tournaments in the world in the 1840s or something like that. I haven't looked up the history of Manchester. This could be super wrong. Kostya and his AI buddy could correct me, right? But, it's something about like, if you're there at the Nexus and you're running the tournaments and you're having the events and you got the sponsors and you got the fans, then like different stuff bubbles up. So I give some credit for that. And so I think fantastic chess culture in Germany, and they get my fifth place. On to you, Jesse. Oh, you're going to have to turn yourself up.
Okay. In number 5, we got David's favorite place in the world, France. And it's not letting me type it. Let's see if I can type it there.
Nice, France.
And for me, I'm thinking mostly about kind of a glory period with, let's call it Philidor to Le Bourdonnais. And yes, there's other stuff that happens later that's cool, but there was a moment in time there where France was the center by far, and it was a significant chunk of time. So I give it to France there. And then at a later period, I feel a country that was significant was Germany. And for me, it's not so much about Germany now. It's more about this very important period that goes really with Tarrasch and Lasker. And to a certain extent, I even want to put Steinitz in there, even though Steinitz is technically from Austria, just because at that point, before World War I, there was a cultural affinity, especially in the chess world, but also in other spheres of influence, where something like chess and the books you would read and the magazines were all kind of distributed throughout there. And it's interesting too, like, My System by Nimzovich, a dude born in Latvia who was then in Denmark, is written in German. And German was the language of chess not so long ago. It's even hard to imagine, but not so long ago, it was the language of chess. Yeah. Okay. So I'll leave it there.
So
Nice.
France, by the way, that's like a historic pick, right? Because like no world champions.
No, I would say Le Bourdonnais is my first world champion.
Oh, okay. That's news to me.
Yeah, that's fine. We've talked about that before. I do feel that is the first world championship match. It sets the stage of what the world championship is.
Like when people think of the world championship, when they come up with the idea, they're looking at that, right? So
right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Number 4 for me, this is maybe the pick of my heart versus the rest of the picks are the picks of my brain. But I put number 4 as Latvia.
Okay. Little old Latvia.
Little old Latvia. And for me, this is where we're jumping to another level when we're getting into like 4. It's like now it's like a superpower. Latvia is a historical chess superpower in terms of what they've contributed. Because here's my feeling. Let's think about how many people have been influenced by Mikhail Tal. He's like the entire like dynamic, aggressive, imaginative, sacrificial, right? Like one third of all chess players' favorite players probably like Mikhail Tal. Like he inspired, just like he's the guy for the whole way of playing chess for a huge group of people, right? There's like the boring people, the scientific, modern, classical, whatever, correct people, and then there's the like genius people, right?
Well, hold
And,
on.
and for the 33% of chess players who want to play like geniuses, like Mikhail Tal is like, this is genius chess. This is extra dimensional chess. And of course, you can see that in Latvia because, as you know, up until a few years ago, when, as Jesse said, we had sort of national chess cultures, everybody in Latvia was like, okay, yes, we choose to be geniuses, right? We all want to be geniuses. So they all played like geniuses like him, right? And that's like a great culture. But it also went beyond the country. And finally, Nimzovich was born there. I gave them a few points for that. Kostya, you want to correct me, so go for it.
Well, I mean, I don't think you can give. There's a couple of things there. I think you can give Mikhail Tal credit for inventing the romantic style of playing. He himself drew a lot of inspiration from the romantic era of chess, right? And a lot of people have Morphy as their favorite player, right? And you could say those are similar to the people that like Tal.
Morphy is more classical and straightforward. Tal's more imaginative and just wow.
Yeah, no. I mean, Tal's amazing. Nothing against Tal. I feel like you're giving too much credit to him, and I don't. I get that he's from Latvia, but like that's just like one. It's like one guy.
It is perhaps my most questionable pick ever. But that's what I felt, Kostya. Okay. I felt like he inspired like a third of chess players, right? There's like the boring players, the bean counters, the just like sit here players, right? Then there's like the classical naturalist style, which I would put Morphy and Fischer in, right? Like they play like aggressively, but correctly, right? And then Misha plays like beyond what you're supposed to be able to play, right? Like he just blows the fuse on the rules and the system.
Okay.
And yes, he was inspired by those who came before him, but like he revolutionized it. Nobody played like that before him.
Fair enough. Jesse, you got anything you want to throw in?
You want to try and correct me, Jesse?
No, let him have it, dude. Let him have it. Just wait until we see what he puts at number 1. Then we'll let him have it.
What do you guys have against Cyprus? It's a great country.
I was expecting, some like Papua New Guinea. With all due respect to the great nation. Okay, number 4 for me. I actually thought this one might be controversial. Now I feel less so. I feel like I'm on solid ground here. So I'm just going to go for it. Number 4, I have Hungary. And Hungary, I think, has a really rich chess history. You got a number of great players. You got Reddy, you got Marazzi, Portish, Ribley, Peter Leko, Richie Rapport. You have the greatest women's player of all time, Judith Polgar, and then the Polgar sisters as well. Although for Judith Polgar, I didn't really give Hungary so much credit for Judith Polgar because I feel like that was more, like her family's doing, right? That whole family is just amazing. Whereas other countries, I feel like have a much richer culture of women's chess, like Armenia, Georgia, China, India. I feel like these countries have like, I don't think of Hungary as like actually a powerhouse for women's chess. So they didn't get that many points from me.
But you gave the Netherlands credit for Van Foreest family.
For the family. Yeah. Well, I just thought that because like their great grandfather was also part of that dynasty. So I just thought that kind of shows like the, but anyways, I'm not saying any of this is fair.
No. You've got your receipts. I'm impressed.
So no world champions for the Hungarians, but they were very close. I think Leko, was a contender, and yeah, obviously the history goes way back.
Susan Polgar said she was world champion.
Susan Polgar, of course, was. Yes, that's true. So they do have women's world champions. So yeah, they made it to number 4 for me. And then number 3 also might be controversial. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how you guys feel. I have no idea actually what you guys are going to do for the top 3 because I feel like we're all missing some countries. But I I ended up with Ukraine as number 3 for me. And this one was a tough one to judge because Ukraine, of course, was part of the USSR. So a lot of the players that people might think of representing the USSR actually come from Ukraine. And of course, I'm biased because my family's from there. But there are many players from Ukraine in history that are very important to chess history. I'll name a few. There's Geller, there's Gligorich, there's Belyavsky, there's Stein. So lots of players throughout history. Of course, in the modern era, Ukraine has done really well in the Olympiads, winning a couple of them, or I think one or two. Couple medals on the women's side. They've done really well. I think they have 2 world champions, Maria Mozachuk, Anna Oshenina. So I guess for me, the biggest question with Ukraine is how much credit you give them for their historical players, because of course it was the USSR. So the fact that they were from Ukraine, because actually when I think about it, you guys are talking about the chess schools, like the Armenian chess school, Georgian chess school, Latvian chess school. I actually have a really hard time describing a Ukrainian chess school. I'm not sure if I really could, outside of maybe I would say creativity is one facet of Ukrainian players that's pretty typical. But other than that, they've always been very, very maybe close to the Russian or Soviet school, as you might call it. But okay, there's my pick.
All right. Yeah. All right. I think the most controversial part is behind us. And now
that's what you always say.
Now we come to the undisputed top 3. And okay, between 2 and 3, it's very arguable. I could see people from this country known for its not even tempered fans being angry not to get the 2nd spot, but I'm giving the 3rd spot to India.
Nice.
I am giving you all credit for the birth of the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Points for that. Big points for Shatranj. And of course, Anand, and maybe the greatest boom that any one player's ever given, right? Greater than the Fischer boom or the Magnus boom, the Anand boom. So not only do they have incredible nationwide popularity, right? Not only do they have top players, they're crushing in every, youth age category for, 15, 20 years after Anand makes it into the top 2 or 3 players in the world, right? It still blows my mind that he was the first grandmaster from that country. I always think there had to be a GM and then a super GM. You can't go straight from you're the first GM and then you become world champion. I remember being so impressed when a country without a GM produced its first GM, another country, I won't name it, but it produced its first GM. And I was like, wow, how did that guy become GM with a country without GMs? You got to be an exceptional talent. But to go from that to world champion, I don't even understand it. Every time I think he's the first GM, I'm like, there must be something wrong with this stat that I know. It just doesn't seem possible.
Well, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like Vichy was one of the first players to benefit from the internationalization of chess, getting access to books, computers, databases, magazines from abroad, which would be very hard to get in India, previously in the 20th century. So I feel like he was just young enough at the right time where if I remember correctly, he did have access to the newer books and stuff. Obviously a huge talent, but it's and that's of course now we have the internet, obviously, and the computers, which have really exploded chess globally. But I feel like he was just at the right time.
It was still 38 years ago, right? It was a very different level of globalization, right?
Yeah.
some information was available, but it wasn't like at your doorstep, at your fingertips in like 5 minutes. And like
Right.
what we have now is just so, I mean, still where he went with what he had is mind boggling. But then the impact that he managed to have on his country is almost even more mind boggling, right? Like the level of popularity, the number of good players. I also want to give India credit with new training methods, right? And I want to give them credit for, even though, as you guys know, I'm not like huge into the capitalist world order, but the corporate sponsorship of most grandmasters in India, right? The way, the system that they have of supporting players, the respect that they're given, and that the respect also includes, some money to make it more livable.
Right.
I think it's like that's like an incredible contribution. And I do expect India to overtake my number 2 country in the next 10 or 20 years.
Wow.
What I'm waiting for there are some more innovations off the board, which I do think are coming, right? So new chess schools, like we've seen started, new training methods, but then even more, right? I expect India to come up with new top level chess events, right? New top level things that I haven't imagined yet. They need to produce some of those things because the country that's number 2 on my list has contributed a lot of things off the board to chess, right? But I think that's coming because there's just so many people in India who are so passionate about it, so smart, engaged in so many different ways and so innovative by nature that I think you're going to see innovations off the board in India within just the next 10 years that will push them to the number 2 chess nation of all time. I would also say India's super close to being able to play an India versus the world match. Which was done once by the USSR, which we're counting as, like 10 different countries, right?
Yeah.
But India's very close to it. I don't think they'll ever quite get there, though. I think there's too much of a globalization, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, just geniuses here and there. I don't think that even with 1 billion plus people, they're going to quite be able to win an India versus the world match. But I think they're good enough that it would be an interesting match. So that's a very special position for a country to ever reach, right? It's been done twice in history. And India's the second time.
The USSR did it twice?
But no, I would say two nations ever have reached that level, right? The USSR and India. You could play one match or 4 matches in the same year, but I mean, you've like achieved it in one.
I see. But India's okay. They're not on that level. They're
very close to that level. Like if they played like the top 10 Indian players against the top 10 non-Indian players in the world, they couldn't win the match, but it would be close.
No, I don't think so. I think top five boards, I think very competitive, but like after 5 boards, it's the world becomes the favorites just by ratings.
I agree, the world becomes the favorite, but I'm saying it's close enough to be of interest. I mean, if you're just saying top 5, it would be basically balanced, right? They've got 5 of the top 10 players.
Top 5, yeah, but then I mean, because like USSR was like you had like multiple world champions. Like,
yeah, no, it was another level. It was like they could win against the world, right?
Yeah,
like they could beat the world down. But again, we're counting the USSR as like many countries now, right? So like, if Petrosian had played for the world as Armenia or whatever, right, it would have gotten like closer. And you would see that like India's like at a very close level now to maybe where Russia was at that point. If you tried to split up and separate out the Soviet school.
Yeah,
it's certainly like historically notable, I think, how good they are compared to the world. Is like the second best any country has ever been compared to the world.
Perhaps.
Okay.
All right.
So David yelled at me a little bit for calling Magnus the GOAT. I feel like really with that conversation, it's really Fischer, Kasparov, and Magnus. And if you want to order them differently, that's fine. But those are the top 3. And so in the 3rd spot, we have the United States.
Wow.
And this one is a little controversial. I'll tell you why it feels controversial to me. Because I grew up in the United States. I didn't have that many tournaments to go to. Not only did I grow up in a desert, but I grew up in a chess desert. But even then, like you'd go, and there weren't even that many tournaments to play in. And not too long ago, it wasn't even possible to get that many norm tournaments. To contrast that with what I experienced in Europe, totally different scene there, with the teams and the tournaments, and everything was so easy, so much easier to do. But the thing about the United States is not only do we have Fischer, but we really also have Lasker and Steinitz and all of these other players who've come over. And it's this weird thing where it must mean that we're offering these players something that has to do with chess culture, and it goes back long. Of course, now we have Aronian, Dominguez, so all coming over. And we've been surprisingly good at Olympiads for decades and decades, even when we weren't at the very top. And now we're talking about India versus the rest of the world. If you take our top five, that's not some chump level thing right now. We got Naka, Fabi, Wesley, Dominguez, and Aroni, and that's our top five. That's a pretty hefty list right there.
Yeah. The US is like clearly the second strongest by average rating at the top right now.
Okay, now I want to talk about something a little bit controversial. Some people think it's controversial. I think it's just a very natural thing to state about this. So before India came along, what was very curious about the chess world was that it was so dominated by Jewish people, Jewish players. And they were from the Soviet Union, but also Tarrasch, Lasker, Steinitz. They're all Jewish. And it's just like, it's something that has to be said. It's like, oh, I've read so much about chess history. I've never had it explained to me. And I don't know if anyone will ever be able to do this, but why did it happen? Why was it that the Jews dominated for so long throughout chess history?
Well, luckily, our next two podcasts are going to be ranking the top 10 ethnicities in chess, followed by a podcast on why Jews dominate chess.
Well, here's the thing. The reason I'm bringing it up now, though, at this point in the podcast, is my number 2 pick is India. And what I find really fascinating is that the supremacy of Jews throughout my lifetime has now been replaced by India. And so this, just give you an anecdote, when I played the U.S. Senior last year, it was held alongside the U.S. Junior, and my tournament was full of all these Eastern European Jewish students who had moved to the United States. And the junior tournament had no Jewish kids, and they were almost all Indian kids. There were some Chinese kids in there too. And what's striking to me about this particular moment, and the reason I ranked it so high, is it feels like the beginning of an empire in the way that the Jewish tradition had a grip on chess for so long. And so obviously there's a nod, there's Gukesh, but there's also this huge flowering that's not just even in India. Like if you start taking the Indian players in the United States, oh man, that's a strong group of kids. And they're
no, that is true actually, and not like England as well has some really strong. You call them Indian
right
juniors, even though people probably count them as English and American, but yeah, if you go by their families, then
Anish Giri is half Indian, right? So you have all of these players, and so it's feels more than just a country in the same way the Jews were more than they weren't a country, obviously, but they were all over Europe. And now this Indian phenomenon feels like a similar kind of engine. And it's fascinating to me because no one explained to me why the Jewish were dominated for so long. What happened? No one explained to me what happened. And then all of a sudden we have this Indian power, and it feels very similar because when all the kids are dominating, even in the United States and they're Indian, it's like, well, something's going on. When I played the U.S. Junior back in the day, the under 21 championship, that was all Jewish kids. and I was like this little weird white kid running around with them. And now it's totally switched. So that's why it's up there. Is it a recency bias? Maybe, but I do feel it's a powerful thing it's incredibly powerful as how I feel it, at least at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like if there's a Jewish Indian kid out there, watch it. It's over.
Oh, man. Yeah. Okay. I can't get over it, Kostya. Jesse just sitting there wondering, like, how could a country be that good without Jews? How did they get there? My number 2, I don't think it's going to be any surprises anymore, is the United States. Similar things to what Jesse said about the country, right? Some great players, and also the fact that it's been like a fertile ground to attract great players to move to, right? So that Steinitz came to the U.S., Kasparov was attracted to spend part of his life in the U.S., Fabiano, Wesley, Levon, all these players moving to the U.S. There's something like incredible. And a lot of these people also had like a good portion of their careers in the US, right? Like Steinitz, if we're not fighting too hard about who owns who, right? Like on this episode, instead of having to call him an American player or an Austrian player, right? We could say he was partly Austrian and partly American, right? Like he spent part of his period of time as an American, right? I don't know. So we have, there's like a history that goes back quite a while with lots of top players like Morphy and Fischer. And then, Jesse's less interested in this part, but this is the part that I have tie-breaking the U.S. over India. So I'm going to refer to it again for a moment, right? Which is the off-the-board contributions, right? So like the U.S. has ICC and then chess.com. The U.S. has led in things like streaming chess on Twitch or Kick or wherever, right? The U.S. had Deep Blue. The U.S. has, this sort of like modern chess companies, chess commentary. It has the Queen's Gambit. It has Searching for Bobby Fischer, right? So it's got a whole bunch of sort of like ancillary cultural things all around it.
We've got the history too. Like we had like the first World Championship match, and then we had like the Santa Monica super tournaments in the 60s. So like it's not just the modern stuff. Like we've got the historical aspects as well.
Yeah. So I think contributed a lot to the development of the worldwide chess scene and chess culture, and just how many people are into chess. Yeah. So I think they've contributed a lot, and I am again expecting to see similar stuff from India in the next 2 years. I don't think chess is done, right? Like maybe here's something we've talked about occasionally. Is it possible for like an AI to provide good chess coaching, right? So far, chess.com has not been able to do that, right? They've got this new coach feature where you can play against it while it gives you advice. Absolute trash, doesn't work at all, right? Useless. Yeah, did you hear that, Kramnik? Oh yeah, I wasn't paid to say that. Oh wow. But maybe for example, it's gonna be somebody in India who cracks that, right? Like who will like produce the first like AI that just like plays through 10 of your games and then tells you like this is your strength, this is your weakness, like you're looking too much at this. This is the one video or one book you need to go read, right? Like there's still things left to figure out in the chess world, right? Still contributions to be made. And I think a lot of that just statistically is going to come from India because of just the percentage of worldwide super smart, innovative, whatever you want to call it, creative, imaginative people who are into chess and are currently in India. So I think a lot of stuff will come from there.
No, it seems inevitable. Yeah, no, that all made sense. I also have the US in the number 2 spot. It's probably not surprising. Okay, again, bias. I'm from here, but I feel like this one makes sense. The US, of course, has a very rich legacy of players, world champions, Fischer, Morphy, the recent players as well. And like Jesse said, they've done well in the Olympiads, not just in modern times, but even like the 30s. I think we won a couple Olympiads or so. So yeah, definitely feel like the US just has this like huge, also just like the got the rich like history and culture with like multiple historic clubs that date back like over 100 years, and like world championships on our soil and world champions that have visited our soil, which is important, like played events here. And obviously like St. Louis Chess Club has done massive things for chess and like world chess. And yeah.
Yeah.
We got the World Chess Hall of Fame. Um and then my number one country, of course, is going to be Russia, which is just hard to argue with. They've kind of always owned chess. Chess has been even a part of their national identity, you would feel, in some respects. Yeah, obviously a lot of the USSR dominance was greatly due to Russia's efforts. And of course, in terms of the players that were born there and originally come from Russia, I think they would take on every country handily. You could probably do, I feel like you could definitely do a Russia versus the rest of the world match just based on their greatest talent.
Just historical players across eras.
Yeah. So for Russia, you have Kasparov, Karpov, Kramnik, etc., and then the rest of the world. And I think it'd just be super competitive. So you gotta give it to them.
That would basically be a match of world champions, right? Like Russia's 7 against the world's top 7 or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I would expect you guys also have Russia, but I don't know. I'll throw it.
You don't want to know too much. Okay. Well, yeah. No, I mean, if I had a crazy pick today, it was maybe Latvia. But the rest of my picks I made with my brain plus my bias. But I put Russia first for having, almost half the world champions and, the overwhelming chess culture that was, like 50, 60 years of just nonstop chess. And even now it's pretty reliable when I meet a Russian person. I know that if I mention I play chess, that they will also and that they'll be interested in talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we're almost actually. Oh, we already got our final rankings. We're very close to that.
Yeah, Jesse, do you have anything to tell us about Russia?
I would feel the only thing I wanted to add was Ukraine confuses me because, and I left it out, but more out of confusion than anything else. I just feel like, well, one, they didn't have a world champion, which is kind of a hard thing for them. But also, like, when I think of somebody like Ivanchuk, for example, yes, Ukrainian, but he spent when I imagine that kid's youth, he's like bouncing in between Moscow and St. Petersburg playing all these tournaments, right? So it's like, in contrast to Armenia and Latvia, which I feel had more independence in the chess world, that the Ukrainian chess scene back in the day was so sucked in to the Russian scene, right? Anyways, so I was a little confused on the Ukrainian point, and I could, in some earlier lists, I had Ukraine in there, but I just wanted to explain that.
No, that's very fair. Yeah, no, I also had a hard time differentiating like what counts for them and what doesn't. But I just felt like if I didn't include them, then I'm like not including so many historic players. So it was tough. But the biggest stuff for me, it looks like, was France, which I definitely had very close on my list, but somehow they just didn't. I don't know. I couldn't make it work for France. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. I have a question for you guys about how you want to do the average rankings before we reveal them. I've been working on them in the background, so folks, you won't have to wait too long. But I was wondering how you feel about countries that got like 2 low rankings from us versus countries that got 1 high ranking from us. I'd kind of put in 11th place as a placeholder for countries that didn't get ranked, so to speak. You can see how I averaged it on the side, you guys. And I wonder, like, do you want to give priority to a country that got do you want me to just do like a flat average, or do you want me to like give a boost to countries that got named twice.
Just to do our normal thing, right? So like first place gets 10 points, second place gets 9 points. Isn't that what we usually do?
Often here I did what we do when we rank things, which is kind of the opposite of it. Sometimes we do like 1, 2, and 3, and then you average it, and the lowest number is best.
I guess like a flat average makes
A
sense.
flat average is fine for you. So I will
Yeah.
bump England and Norway, which each got 2 low votes in favor of Hungary and Ukraine. Yes?
Oh, you guys also snubbed Hungary, huh? No respect for Hungary.
You guys snubbed Cuba. I can't believe it. What are you doing?
On my list, Jesse, I had
Cuba's close, yeah.
in 11th place, actually. So
If it helps, we could give you our 11th pick, and that could be something.
I don't think it will change much. It's really just a question of, do you want a place to be mentioned twice or not? I think I will move England and Norway and replace them with Hungary and Ukraine. Oh, wait. That's even going to bump the Netherlands down. Wow. Jesse, you didn't name the Netherlands, did you? Right?
No, I didn't.
No, okay.
Well, Netherlands maybe edges out Hungary because that was named twice. So it looks like Netherlands and Hungary have
But
the
just
same.
do the
score.
points. So like
All right.
David's Netherlands vote would be worth 2, and then the Kostya's would be worth X.
I think I pretty much got it. Here goes.
Yeah, I think you got it.
Reasonable.
Maybe while he's doing it, Kostya, let's talk about the surprises.
Well, I mean, I've done it, but yeah.
Oh,
think
we
it's
got
ready,
it?
Jesse,
You ready
if
to
you
go
wanna-
over? Okay, here we
Yeah.
go. Oh, okay, we got it ready. Let me just make sure that it looks good. Yeah, there we go. All right. That's a pretty good list.
There's the list. So we have Russia in first. Of course, we all ranked at number 1. US clear at number 2. India clear number 3. Then Germany in number 4. France and Armenia tied for 5th. Latvia in 7th place. I would say that for me is surprising. Ukraine in 8th. Netherlands and Hungary tied for 9th place. Yeah, because like all these countries basically I had in my mind. Latvia I certainly considered. It was just too small for me, I thought, to fully make it. But yeah, Latvia, Cuba, France were very close for me. Norway I didn't think about much, actually, to be honest.
It's weird how sometimes you don't think of things. Like, partly bias doesn't mean like you hate one thing and you love another thing. It can sometimes just be like what comes to mind for you, right?
David, how come Norway isn't on there? I got that. What did I have Norway at? I had it at number 6. That would be 6 points or something, right?
I know, but it got bumped down by a little bit. I mean, it would be the next on this list, I think. It would be at 11th place.
Oh, you guys have lost your mind.
But Ukraine and Hungary got so many points from Kostya.
Okay.
Right.
But like, for example, I mentioned like the European bias. Like, I didn't actually think of China when I was doing my list. I actually didn't really think of it.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy, right? Because they dominated women's chess for like 30, like my entire lifetime as a chess player, right? They've had like the top women's chess players often playing against each other in the world championship matches. They were at the top of the Olympiad table several times. It's weird, right?
Kostya, can I just say, I think it's insane to put Hungary at number 4. Have you lost your mind? Have you lost your mind?
Kostya's the only one who couldn't have made mistakes because it's been data and AI vetted.
They got lucky that he came after Latvia. We got Richard Reddy, Geza Marazzi, Zoltan Rivlin.
he's got it.
All the players. No, Hungary has a great. They got like Budapest, all these like Olympiads and top events.
For Saturday tournaments.
For Saturday
Norm factories.
How many grandmasters have been produced? So many.
I mean, the pick that shocked me from Kostya was Ukraine, Jesse. That was the pick that shocked me, and that I think, like, you could say changed or ruined our whole list. And that's just, like a hometown bias. It's
But
fun.
actually, there's one country I wanted to rank and I totally forgot about. And actually, if I didn't rank Ukraine, I would probably include them, and that would be Yugoslavia, Serbia, actually, which has a huge history.
I thought about them, and I wasn't sure in what size to consider them. You see what I mean? Like, that was a riddle that really plagued me, because, like, we'd agreed to break up the Soviet Union, and then I was like, do I do Yugoslavia or do I do like Serbia? And then I don't know exactly where, different players are from within Yugoslavia, because in the historical books that I read about them, it doesn't specify, right? Like, do you know where Gligoric, like which Yugoslavian sub nation, is he Serbian or Montenegrin or?
Oh, Gligoric is Serbian. I said he was Ukrainian. He's Serbian.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's definitely not Ukrainian. Does that change your Ukraine vote?
No, it's too many players. No, but yeah, Serbia. No, we messed up. Apologies to Serbia, because they had a number of top players and historic players.
I definitely was thinking about them, but then there was still like the world champion threshold, and I decided like it's a little muddled. Like, if you put all of Yugoslavia together, then I probably would have had to put them on my list, but. Anyway, I'm sort of okay with what I did. Maybe I should have put China at like number 10 or 11 like you guys did.
I can't. Yeah, China's not on the list. It's obviously I thought 10 was controversial on my part for not putting them higher, and you chumps ruined it. Hungary above China? Who are you?
I mean, I could adjust my ratings, Jesse, and give China my number 10 from Norway, but it won't change the ratings. Like, it would take a lot for them to surpass Kostya's Ukraine and Hungary.
No, I had China way higher actually going into this, and then Jesse talked me down. You guys talked me down for China. I was like, yeah, maybe China's not that great. I don't know.
I would have to rank China at number 5, Jesse, for it to tie with Ukraine. Just to tie with Ukraine.
Wow.
And I'm not doing that.
Well, we really scuttled it this time. All right.
No, I think, look, Hungarians, you guys defend me in the comments, please.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I guess I feel good about our top 7. Our top 7 seems mostly legit.
Overall, our list is not too bad. It's not too bad overall. There maybe a mistake here or there, but we got a lot of good ones up there.
Yeah, no, it's a tough list. Yeah. Well,
I still feel nervous. We've done the whole thing, and I feel just as nervous as at the beginning.
All right, let's end it there. That was great.
Fine. Yeah, we did great. Thank you, folks, for watching and listening. Please check out the Patreon to support the show and suggest/vote on future topics. Yeah. We'll be back next week, I think. Bye-bye.
And if your country's not good at chess, that doesn't mean your country's not good. We still love you and your country.
Yeah.